Nohara, welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to do the Julie and the Phantoms book tag, created by Peyton Reeds and Brittany Books. So you should definitely watch their videos, and you should just watch their other videos because they're great booktubers, and I highly recommend you give them a watch. So yeah, so I guess I'll just get started. First I want to take a note that I'm a little late in the whole Julie and the Phantoms thing. I started it a week ago actually, and I watched it pretty quickly because I got obsessed. But I originally, when I first heard about it, was this one YouTuber I did a video ranking all the episodes. She's not a booktuber though. And then Peyton Reeds and Brittany Books did the book tag, and everyone was talking about it. And I saw some things on Twitter. I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is I don't like it. But I loved it, and I was obsessed. Like, immediately obsessed. And I had no idea there were Descendants characters on there. Like, seriously, I went in not knowing a thing about the show. A thing. Not a single thing. I had no idea what it was about. Nothing. And then, when I first saw Flynn and Caleb, I mean, Flynn looked familiar. And Caleb, I don't know, I think there was something familiar about him, but I couldn't exactly place my hand on it. When I saw Willie for the first time, I was like, oh, that's Jay, like, that's so obvious. And then I decided to look Flynn up, because I was like, who is she? Turned out to be Celia from Descendants, and then when I was looking her up, I found out Caleb was Hades from Descendants. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise. I'm a little upset that Jay didn't sing, and Flynn didn't sing that much. I mean, she sang a little bit, but not that much. But I really want Jay to sing, because we all know he can sing. So moving on, let's get to the tag. Number 1, Julie. Name a character who goes through a hard time but comes out on the other end stronger than ever. So, I think for questions like this, I always kind of answer the same thing. I said I'm not going to do many book tags until I read more books on my TBR list, but this one I just had to do because I'm obsessed. So, yeah. And I'm going with Maya from the Effigies trilogy. Like, duh. When this book starts, Maya had lost her twin sister and her parents in a house fire, and she was the only survivor. You find out at the beginning of the 3rd book, I think it was, why she survived. Because she, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think she got in a fight with her twin sister and ended up sneaking out in the middle of the night. And when she came back, the fire had already happened, and they were already all dead. I don't remember how long ago that was when the book starts. I don't think it was that long ago. It might have been a year, like Julie losing her mom. I don't 100% remember, but I don't think it was that long. So she was living with her uncle, and when she finds out that she is the next fire effigy, because the effigies are 4 girls who can each wield a different element, and when one person dies, they don't go up to heaven or anything. They go into the next fire effigy, and that's how. And so that the next person gets that ability. Maya becomes the next fire effigy because Natalia died. And then if you scry, and you can also go to the past and see your past effigies and see their memories. The first one is the easiest. The last one that is the easiest to connect with, obviously. So Natalia was the easiest for her to connect with. But the oldest one, like the first one, will be the hardest to connect. You have to kind of go through all of them to get to her, and she kind of had to. And that's a long story for another time. But yeah. So definitely worth the read. I'm in love with this trilogy. It's one of my favorites, and I definitely recommend. Yeah, Maya definitely goes through a lot, and then to have to say goodbye to her uncle to do this whole effigy thing, and it was really hard on her, but she came out stronger, and she became better for it. So yeah. Okay, let's see, what's next? Number 2, Luke. Name a character who is more than what meets the eye. Now, like I've said a million times, I cannot do one of these tags without mentioning my favorite series of all time. Oh no, it's like buried. No, it's not. The first book isn't buried. Never mind. Okay. I can't go through a tag without mentioning this book. I just can't. Like, seriously. My favorite series of all time, which is surprising because it's not even fantasy, and fantasy might be really the only genre I read except for this author. I'm obsessed with this book, which, if you watch my videos, you should know by now because I'm obsessed. Like, seriously, I'm obsessed. Just like I'm obsessed with Julian the Phantoms, I'm obsessed. But this book is basically about these 4 bears who meet, all from different worlds. One's a polar bear, Kalik. 2 brown bears, Toklo and Udrak, and Udrak is a shapeshifter, and but he prefers to be a bear, even though he can be just about anything he wants. And then a black bear named Lusa, all from different worlds. Okay, but Toklo is the answer for this book or this question. What? Okay, because I mean they all go through a lot in the series. Kalik goes through the most. Toklo is a close second for going through a lot. But at the beginning, in this book, actually the first book, his mother always pushes him away and focuses on his little brother because he's really sick and ill, and then eventually he dies, and she ends up abandoning Toklo because she says she can't watch another cub die because apparently she had a litter of cubs before these 2 and they died too, and then Toby dies, and then so she abandons Toklo and he's just a cub himself, so he's all by himself. They're just cubs who have to face the world alone until they meet each other. I mean, this book, like the main thing about this book is friendship. Like seriously, there's hardly even any ships for the first several books until book 6, and then there's 1 ship, and then and then at the very end there's 2 more ships. But yeah, it's mostly about friendships, and I love that about this. It's about what they would do for each other. It's about how loyal they are for one another, how they would do anything, and how they were always there for one another, and I love it. And Kalik's my favorite character. I have to throw that out there. But I love Toklo too, and because of what he went through, he is very hard and very mean and seems like the typical jerk. And I think that's why him and Kalik actually have issues at first. But Toklo is a lot more than what he seems. He seems really rough and hard, but deep down he does care a lot, and that's why he is hard and rough. He doesn't want to show that he cares because he doesn't want to get hurt again. Of course, when he meets Udrak and then Lusa and then Kalik, that kind of all just gets thrown away because he ends up caring about them, and it gets harder and harder for him to show that he doesn't, because he does. And I love the friendship between the 4 of them. I mean, seriously, best friend group ever. Like, seriously. But if you haven't read this already, then what are you doing? Like, it's more than just a book about bears. It's about these 4 characters who go through a lot and then come together and become stronger. And this friend group is just everything and that I live for. So I highly recommend. But Toklo fits this pretty well, so I had to go with him, obviously. I have my book. Okay. What's next? Number 3 is Alex. Name your favorite comfort character. So I'm going with Brink from Bewitched and Oz Duology. This is a good book too. You should watch it read it. You should read it. yeah. Just go and just watch this book. Like, just watch it. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. This book is based in Oz, obviously. That's why it says Oz. But it's about Ziri and her 2 best friends, and then her crush's little brother, Brink. And they all have magic. But magic is illegal. So they all have to sneak off to practice it because it's a part of who they are and they don't want to give it up. That's one thing I love about Ziri. Then they get caught, and the flying monkeys take off with one of her best friends, Tabitha. So the 3 of them have to go on this journey to save her and make magic legal again, so that they won't have to hide who they are anymore. And along the way, she realizes that it's Brink she actually likes and not Ned, because she always kind of thought Ned was like this cool guy who was really hot, so she liked him. And then she gets to know, and she always kind of thought of Brink as Ned's little brother, or just his little, she didn't really think of him that much at all. But then on this journey, she realized how sweet he is and kind, and she falls for him, and I ship it a lot. But Brink is such a sweetheart. Like, seriously, when I talk about cinnamon roll characters, the characters that always come to mind are Brink, Nick from Skinjacker Trilogy, Carlos from the Owl Lost series. He's also on The Descendants, obviously. There's also Evie from Owl Lost / Descendants. But then there's Victoria from the FG's trilogy, aka Lake, because she actually goes by Lake. Don't ask me why, because I do not remember why. But yeah, Brink is just such a sweetheart, and he really cares about Ziri and about Vashti and Tabitha. And like, seriously, he was always kind of put on the back burner for a while because of Ziri's crush on Ned, until she realized how amazing Brink is and how he's the one that she wants to be with. But he would still do anything for them. He risks so much. He even gets captured at one point trying to save them, and it's just so sweet. And I love Brink. Like, seriously, if I was straight, like, Brink would be the perfect guy, because he's just such a sweetheart and he deserves the world. Okay, let's see. Reggie, number 4. Reggie, name your favorite comic relief character. So I went with Travis from Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. So, see, I don't think a lot of people really know this book exists until recently. I think I started hearing more about people talking about it. But I found it, fell in love with it. It's, the first half of the book is just like the Hocus Pocus movie. And then the second half is 25 years later with Max and Allison's daughter, Poppy, who ends up doing the same mistake Max made. And she goes on this journey with her enemy, who happens to be, okay, if you've seen Hocus Pocus, do you remember that one, those two guys that were mean to Max, like, and then gets locked out with the witches? One of them, I think it was the blonde-haired dude, I might be wrong, but I think it's him. His daughter, who's mean to Poppy. But she goes on this journey with her crush Isabella. So yes, there's a lesbian relationship. The only book I've read with a lesbian relationship, which makes me really sad, because I think most lesbian relationships aren't in fantasy books, which makes me sad. So yeah, I need to find more of those. And her best friend Travis, and I love their friendship. I do. I want to talk about it more on the channel. I really do. But Travis, he's funny, and he's always there for Poppy to make sure she's okay. So he's definitely cares. But he's also a comic relief character. He's kind of a goof and says weird things, like Reggie. And I don't think he always 100% knows what the heck he's talking about, but he doesn't stop talking like Reggie. So he definitely gives me Reggie vibes, or I should say Reggie gives me Travis vibes, because I read this before I watched that. But yeah. Definitely worth a read if you like the movie Hocus Pocus. Since the first half is just like the movie, you don't have to read that half, unless you want to because you're a fan of the movie. But definitely should read the sequel part of it, because I loved it, and I love Poppy and Isabella's relationship. I love Poppy and Travis's relationship. It's definitely worth a read. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Okay, what's next? Number 5 is Flynn. Name a strong female friendship. Okay, so I'm going with, hold on, where's the book? Right here. Draculaura, Laguna, Claudine, and Cleo. So the friendship between them isn't the main thing in this book, which makes me a little sad. The main thing is the whole monster normie feud. But most of the tags, the orange tags, because that's what's for friendship, most of the orange tabs are for the friendship of the 4 of them. And yes, Frankie's becomes like a part of the friend group, sort of. It's a little complicated, but she is like new, and she's just starting to hang out with them, so she's kind of just watching as the 4 of them like joke around and have this little banter. Like, there was a couple scenes with just Draculaura and Laguna with their little banter they had, which was so sweet. And there was a few heartwarming moments, like when Draculaura was really upset that Cleo was kissing her crush all week, even though Cleo's in a relationship. But whenever whenever he goes to Greek for like summer, they agreed to see other people until they come back. Until the second book, they decide not to do that anymore because they love each other too much. But and Cleo's like, I had to because this one girl was all over him, and so she was doing it for Draculaura, which was really sweet. And yeah, and then there was this one sweet moment with they were all meeting, and this is when Frankie found out they're all monsters because she thought they were normies. And Claudine was all upset, and then Cleo's like, come here, come to Mummy, because she's a mummy, so she's like, come to Mummy, and she gives her a hug, and Claudine lets out a little laugh, and she was like, that is, what's the word she says? She didn't say cliche, but she said something along those lines. And it was just funny, and I like most of these orange tabs are for them. I think 2 might be for Melody and Becca, because their friendship in the first book was nice, even though at the end of the first book they kind of stopped being friends. But most of the orange tabs are for the 4 of them, because I love their friendship so much. And I only read the series one other time, and I'm currently rereading it. I'm on the 2nd book, so I'm hoping to see more moments between them, because I don't really remember. I did only read it that once. But yeah, so I love this friendship, and I wish it was on a little bit more, because I haven't really seen it that much in the 2nd book, which makes me sad. But I absolutely love this series. If you're a fan of the Monster High, then you should definitely check it out. I have made my own Monster High book tag, because I'm obsessed with Monster High 2. I haven't actually made it yet, but I have the questions. I don't think I've written down my answers yet. I might have, I don't remember, I'm gonna have to look. I have no idea when I'm gonna actually create it, but yeah. So there's 2 Monster High book series. There's from 2 completely different authors, 2 completely different stories, nothing alike, and I love them both. The other one is more like the actual movies, with Rochelle, Venus, Rebecca, and Sai going to and I almost chose their friendship because I love it, but then I was like, I talk about that book a lot, so I want to talk about this book a little bit more, and I do love their friendship on here. So yeah, if you're a fan of Monster High, definitely give both these stories a read. I definitely recommend, because they are so good. This one is a little bit different than the movies, because it's about the monsters having to pretend to be normies with all this makeup to look like normies, which is really hard, you know. So yeah, and then they eventually have to come out and try to fight for their rights and stuff. So yeah, definitely worth the read. Next is number 6. Willie, name an anticipated release you would sell your soul for. So I don't know many releases coming out, because most of the books that are on my TBR list have been out for a while. So I don't know. But I could always say the sequel to the Shadowrun Chronicles, because they just because that book is pretty new, so I have no idea when the 2nd one's coming out. But yeah, I kind of want to see how that goes, because it kind of ended off with a cliffhanger. But I'm going to go with a cheat answer here. I'm going to say my book. Okay, I have my own published book, which I'm pretty sure I mentioned a few times, so please check it out. It's available on Amazon. It's called Jasmine Perez and the Wicked Sorceress. It has a tiara on the cover, and it says Jahar Harper as the author, so please check it out. It's a fantasy, so if you like fantasy, you'll definitely like it. It's basically about this princess who this sorceress ends up coming and stealing her and pretty much kidnapping her entire kingdom, except for she missed two servants. So she ends up going on a journey with the 2 of them to find something, because she also finds out she has magic. So she has to practice her magic, find something that can defeat the sorceress with these 2 servants who don't like her, and she doesn't like one of them. Or I don't think she really likes either one of them. I'm not going to spoil too much. But she also meets two allies along the way, and she has to learn more about the past, about why Lilac is doing this. Oh, and she's with her fiance. I forgot about that. It's a forced engagement. They don't really get along either. But she kind of has to learn about the past and about Lilac and Rosemary and why Lilac is doing all this, what happened, and yeah. So the sequel I'm hoping to publish in January 2021, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, the sequel is going to be called. I'm hoping to get it published the 1st of January, but I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to. But I'll definitely try to get it that month. So the sequel is going to be called Jasmine Perez and in Another Realm, and it's gonna have a picture of a portal. If I can use the one that I found, it's a blue portal. I hope I can use the one I found on it. So yeah, please check it out, and I hope you like it. So moving on. Number 7, Caleb. Name your favorite magical fantasy book. Now, fantasy is my favorite genre, so this is very hard. But I did manage to narrow it down a little bit, but there's still others that I'm not going to be able to mention for this answer, obviously. So I'm going with Harry Potter. Obviously, I'm in love with the Harry Potter books. It will always remain to be one of my favorite series. I absolutely love them, and they deserve so much praise, like seriously, but like, who doesn't praise them? Like seriously, most people, if they've never even seen Harry Potter, they at least know the name. That's how famous it is. I also have the Effigies trilogy on here, obviously. Love the Effigies trilogy. Definitely deserve a read, but I already explained it a little bit in an earlier question, so I'm not going to get much into it. Then Skinjacker trilogy. Where is that? Where did I put those books? Where did I put those books? I think I put them in here. Yeah, okay. This is the 3rd book in the series, and it's the first one I found, so I just picked it up. But this book is basically where, at the very first chapter, these two people die, okay? Allie and Nick, they were in 2 separate cars, never even met before, but they crash and die. Well, sort of. It's a little complicated on Allie's part, but I don't want to spoil too much, because that's a major plot twist. But Allie finds out, so they have to go on this journey, and this war is like, and this war is like starting, and then in the 2nd book, Nick starts a new war, and yeah, so it's a really good series. I didn't explain it that well, but basically they live in this place called Everlost, which is where people who don't move on go to when they die. Allie finds out she's a Skinjacker, which basically means she can possess people. She can go inside people as a passenger, which means she's inside their body. She can see their thoughts and stuff, which you usually just do if you're hiding, because she did that a couple times. Or you can fully possess them, put them to sleep, and do what you want with their body. She doesn't like to use that power unless she absolutely has to, because she thinks it's wrong to possess people, which is right. But yeah, so, and then there's this huge war with Mary Hightower. I'm trying so hard not to get into a huge rant about how much I hate Mary Hightower, because every time I try not to get into that rant, I fail. Because I hate her. I hate her worse than Umbridge from Harry Potter, and I didn't think that was possible. But Mary Hightower could just move it on, because I'm going to get angry, and I'm going to end up throwing my book, and I don't want to throw my book. So, yeah. Great trilogy. Should definitely check it out. Should definitely check it out. Definitely worth the read. I love the friendship between Allie and Nick. I wish it was explored a little bit more than it was. Because I think after a while they kind of forgot about it a little bit for a little while, and then kind of brought it back up towards the end. It's kind of complicated. But yeah. Oh yeah, one more book for this. Bewitched and Oz duology, which I've already mentioned in this video, so I'm not going to explain it. But definitely worth the read. I love it. It's the only duology I've ever actually read because I usually like longer series. I think there's only 2 trilogies I read. Am I right? No, 3. I read 3 trilogies because I like longer series. But yeah, so definitely check this one out because it's definitely worth the read. Okay, next is Nick. Name a book you used to like but changed your mind about. So this one was a little bit hard because most books I don't change my mind about. I guess I could go with Divergent, but I don't think I really changed my mind about it. I mean, I like it, but it's not something I want to reread a million times. So what I went with is Hunger Games because when I first read it, I never really loved it. But when I first read it, I was like, the story's not that bad, you know? But now, when I look back on it, I'm like, I don't like that book. I don't hate it, but I definitely don't like it. And don't get me wrong, there's a few scenes that I still like. And Peter's a sweetheart. I do ship him with Katniss. And I do like that scene when Katniss screams at the hospital, after the hospital burns, she screams at President Snow. She was like, fire is catching. If we burn, you burn too. I do like that scene, don't get me wrong. And she's a good hero and all. I'm just not a fan of the storyline per se, but I'm also not a fan of that genre. Like I said, the only genre besides Sarah Hunter's books, I pretty much only read fantasy, and it's still bugging me that I can't think of what that stinking genre is. Divergent, Hunger Games, what is that type of genre called? I know it, and I can't think of it. Of course, now I'm gonna be... I dropped my phone! Luckily it landed on one of my books from my hauling video I just made. Okay. Okay, moving on. Wow, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. Try and get my composure back. I think my cheeks are all pink and rosy now. Oh well. Okay. Okay. Number 9, Ray. Name a book with a supportive family / parents. Okay. I've already used this book twice technically, but most fantasy, honestly, I don't think has much to do with on the family point aside. Let's be real. It doesn't really have all these parents that are like, why are you out there fighting this war? Why are you practicing your magical abilities? You know, I just don't remember reading much about parents in fantasy. I don't know if that's just me and I just haven't read much about it. But I'm going with Effigy's trilogy because I told you how Maya's being raised by her uncle, but he is very supportive and he's always there for her, and he's such a sweetheart just like Ray, and he Maya kind of has to leave unexpectedly once someone recruits her because they know she's the next Effigy. She tries to hide it because she doesn't want to leave her uncle and stuff. But yeah, so but then later on, when the whole war is going on, the Effigies kind of sneak away because they're not supposed to. Because when she's in her training period, she's not supposed to have any contact with any family members. So they kind of sneak away because they need his help with it because his computer skills and stuff. So they sneak away to meet him, and it was a sweet reunion. And even though he could be putting his life in danger by helping them, he didn't care. He just wanted to help his little niece, and it was so sweet. And yeah, so number 10 is Carlos. Name a book featuring ghosts. So yeah, I'm going with, this is the only book I really have featuring ghosts, the Skinjacker trilogy. I mean, I don't think they ever kind of refer to each other as ghosts, but technically they are, because in Everlost, they're living in, it's not like they're in a different world. They're living in the same world that they lived in their entire life up to their death. But they can see all these people walking around, but they can't have any contact with them. Well, Skinjackers can, but she didn't know she was Skinjacker for a little while. But Everlost is just more gray and dull than the normal world. But yeah, they're definitely ghosts, even if I don't since it's about them, they don't really refer to themselves as ghosts, but they are technically ghosts. So this is really the only answer I have to this question. So yeah, but definitely worth a read. Name a book that always seems to have the spotlight on BookTube. I think there's a lot that has spotlight on the BookTube. I mean, my favorite books I never see on BookTube besides Harry Potter. Like seriously, all my favorite books are never like there. It's just not. Which makes me sad. So please read some of my favorite books: Seekers by Erin Hunter, Warriors by Erin Hunter, Effigies by Sarah Roffley, Skinjacker by what's that name? I'm not good with authors really, except for Erin Hunter. I don't really know much about authors. Skinjacker is Neil Shusterman. I should have known that one. Bewitched and Oz by Laura J. Burns. Yeah, read all those books and more. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Spotlight. I think there's several that's on a Spotlight for BookTube, but I'm gonna go with Throne of Glass because I see that a lot and it's pretty controversial. I think half the people love it, half the people hate it. I don't think there's any middle ground with it, and it's on my TBR list. I don't think it's like high up there, but it's something I do want to read eventually. I don't know if I'm gonna be one of those people that love it or hate it, but I guess we'll find out. And I kind of hope I love it, but I don't know yet. So we shall see when I finally read it. Number 12 is Bobby/Trevor. Name a book that you trusted but ultimately let you down in the end. Oh, my hauling video I made. I forgot to haul one book. Oops. Where is the book? I have no idea where I put it. Oh, that's why I forgot about it. I think I put it over here. No, I didn't. Where did I put it? I lost the book. It's here somewhere. Didn't I just see it too? A little while ago? Today? I think I saw it today. I can't find it. Like seriously, where did it go? I usually keep my books over here, and now it just kind of disappeared. Oh well, it's called Heart of the Moors. It's pretty much like, you know, the Maleficent movie. Well, it's a sequel to that, kind of like Mistress of Evil, but I didn't know it existed until I found it, and then someone bought it for me because I didn't have the money for it. But it was after I've already watched Mistress of Evil, and it was nothing like it, and it was not good. It was kind of slow and boring, and I wasn't a fan, and it disappointed me because I actually went into it really excited, really hyped up. Now where's that stinking book? It was right in front of my face. Wow. Of course it was, because that's my luck. It was just right there. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna... Bye. Okay. I forgot to put this in my hauling video from before. So, yeah, I'm hauling this one too. Just letting you know, if you watch my hauling video. So, this book was boring. And it disappointed me, because I actually went into it, you know, really excited, thinking that it would be a lot like Mistress of Evil, or honestly, I kind of wonder if it was supposed to be in between Maleficent and Mistress of Evil. It might have been. It might have been like in between those two books, because there was like a 5-year thing from when Mistress of Evil began, because they mentioned that Philip and Aurora were dating for 5 years. But basically, there's a lot of inconsistencies, because in the Maleficent Mistress of Evil movie, Aurora mentioned that they gave her father's kingdom to the people, and she was just queen of the Moors. On here, she was queen of the Moors and her father's kingdom, and so she was in charge of the people of the Moors and all these people, and they were always at odds. They were always fighting, blaming one another, and she was trying to get them together, and at this point her and Philip were really close friends, but they weren't even dating, and Aurora kept saying she didn't like Philip like that, but then at the end she was like, I do like Philip like that. I was just afraid of getting hurt like Maleficent was hurt by my father, which is also an inconsistency, because in Mistress of Evil, she, like, Maleficent was the one that didn't want to, Aurora getting hurt by being with some stupid guy, but Aurora didn't care because she loved him, and I don't know. I just didn't like it. I was very disappointed. This book very disappointed me, so I do not recommend it. I mean, you can still give it a try if you want to, if you like the Maleficent movies, because I love them, but see, it even says Disney Maleficent Mistress of Evil right here, so it's supposed to be like the book, but not like the book, or like the movie, but not like the movie. Like, what? This book, just, no. See, it says it right here too, Maleficent Mistress of Evil. Maybe it came out before the movie actually came out, I don't know, but I didn't like it. So, yeah. Putting it with my... Okay, then. Putting it with my hauling books, because I forgot to mention it, that I'm hauling it in my last video. So, yeah. That is it. That was the last question. So, please like and subscribe and comment the answers, or tag me in this video if you decide to do it. I'd love to see your answers, and tell me if you've read any of these books. If you want to read any of these books, please, I would like to know, and to know that I'm not alone, because a lot of these books that I love, I swear I read a lot of underrated books, because I never hear anyone talk about them, and it makes me sad, except for Harry Potter, obviously. But yeah, so please like, subscribe, and comment, and I will talk to you guys later.